In the heart of a bustling military camp, there stood a soldier named Clara. She was unlike most others in her unit, which was largely made up of men. With fiery red hair tied back in a neat bun and a fierce determination in her emerald green eyes, Clara had worked hard to earn her place among them. Every day, she faced challenges not just from the enemy, but also from those who doubted her capabilities. Clara trained rigorously, mastering every skill and tactic that her male counterparts were taught. She could run faster, shoot straighter, and think quicker than many. Despite her skills, she often felt the weight of scrutiny because she was a woman. The other soldiers sometimes whispered about her behind her back and questioned whether she belonged there. But Clara refused to let their doubts define her. She believed that strength was not just physical, it was also about resilience and bravery. As she moved through the camp with purpose, she held on to a dream: to prove that everyone, regardless of gender, deserves respect and can stand strong in the face of adversity. Her time to shine would come sooner than she expected. One bright morning, the military camp buzzed with excitement and tension. Soldiers gathered in tight rows under the wide, open sky, their uniforms crisp and clean. The air was filled with chatter and anticipation as everyone waited for the general to arrive. Clara stood among her fellow soldiers, her heart pounding with both anxiety and pride. Today's announcement was rumored to be important, possibly game-changing for the entire unit. As she scanned the faces around her, she could see a mix of eagerness and skepticism in their expressions. Some whispered about promotions and new assignments, while others exchanged glances that hinted at doubt. Clara felt the familiar pressure of proving herself yet again. She straightened her posture, determined to show that she belonged there just as much as anyone else. Finally, the tall figure of the general strode into view, commanding attention with every step. The soldiers fell silent as he approached the podium, looking serious and ready to deliver his message. Clara held her breath, knowing that whatever happened next could shift the dynamics within the camp and change how they all viewed each other, especially her. As the general approached the podium, Clara felt a wave of tension ripple through the crowd. He cleared his throat, and all eyes were fixed on him. But instead of addressing the unit with respect, he chose to make an example of Clara. "I hope you all are paying attention," he said, pointing directly at her. "This soldier may think she's as good as the rest of you, but let's not kid ourselves." The audience murmured, and Clara's heart sank as she realized he was belittling her in front of everyone. His arrogance echoed in every word, making it clear that he saw her not as a capable soldier, but as a distraction, something to be dismissed. The general continued his tirade, mocking her training efforts and questioning her place in the unit. Clara felt a fierce anger rise within her. She had fought too hard to be where she was and had proven herself time and again. The laughter from some soldiers stung, but it only fueled her determination. This was more than just disrespect. It was a challenge she could not ignore. As he finished his speech, she vowed that she would no longer tolerate such treatment. The tension in the air became electric as the general concluded his speech. Clara's heart raced, her fists clenched at her sides. Just when she thought it couldn't get worse, the general stepped closer, a smug grin on his face. Without warning, he raised his hand and slapped her across the face, the sound echoing through the camp like thunder. Silence fell over the gathered soldiers, their eyes wide in shock. Gasps erupted from the crowd as they registered what had just happened. Clara's face burned with humiliation, but beneath it lay a fire of anger that ignited her spirit. Whispers filled the air. Some soldiers exchanged incredulous glances, while others looked on in disbelief. How could he do this? Clara felt the sting of the slap fade into a rush of adrenaline. She realized this was no longer just about herself. It was about standing up for all those who had been pushed down or dismissed. In that moment, something shifted inside her. The shock on the soldiers' faces fueled her resolve. She would not let this act of disrespect go unanswered. As her vision focused on the general, she prepared to take action that would change everything. In that heart-stopping moment, Clara felt an intense heat rise in her chest. The shock of the slap quickly transformed into a fierce pride that surged through her veins. She could hear the whispers and gasps of her fellow soldiers, but they faded into the background as determination took over her thoughts. No longer would she allow anyone to belittle her or undermine her worth. With each beat of her heart, Clara made a pivotal decision. She could either shrink back into silence or rise up to reclaim her dignity. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the adrenaline coursing through her body. As she locked eyes with the general, she saw not just an arrogant leader, but a challenge that demanded to be met head-on. Clara took a deep breath, channeling every ounce of strength she had cultivated over the years. The soldiers around her were witnesses to this crucial moment in her life. In front of them all, she prepared to take action and prove that she was not just a soldier, but a force to be reckoned with, ready to defend herself and others who had been wronged. With a deep breath, Clara launched into action, her body moving instinctively as she charged toward the general. The soldiers around them watched in stunned silence, unsure of what would happen next. As she closed the distance, the general appeared taken aback, his expression shifting from arrogance to surprise. In a swift motion, Clara feinted to her right, catching him off guard. Then, with lightning speed, she lashed out with a powerful punch that connected with his jaw. The impact was satisfying and echoed through the camp like a shot fired in battle. The general staggered back, momentarily stunned as Clara stepped forward fiercely. The training she had worked so hard for kicked in. She expertly ducked under his wild swing and countered with a knee strike to his midsection. Cheers erupted from her fellow soldiers as they finally saw her true skill and bravery on display. Clara felt exhilaration coursing through her veins, knowing she was not just fighting for herself, but for every soldier who had endured disrespect. As the fight continued, every blow and movement spoke of her determination to reclaim her dignity and assert her rightful place among them all. This was her moment of courage, and she was ready to seize it. As the fight raged on, Clara felt a rush of energy propelling her forward. The general, once full of arrogance, now struggled to keep up with her relentless attacks. With each swift movement, the soldiers watching began to shift from disbelief to admiration. Clara ducked under another wild swing and countered with a powerful uppercut that landed cleanly on his chin. Time seemed to slow as the impact echoed through the camp. The crowd gasped collectively as the general stumbled backward, his eyes wide with shock. Clara didn't hesitate. She followed up with a fierce roundhouse kick that connected forcefully with his temple. In an instant, the general was sent crashing to the ground, knocked out cold. Silence hung in the air for a heartbeat before it erupted into cheers and shouts of encouragement from her fellow soldiers. A wave of triumph surged through Clara as she stood over him, breathing heavily but victorious. The respect she craved was no longer just a dream. It was now reflected in the faces of those who had witnessed her bravery. In that moment, she had not only defended herself, but had also earned her rightful place among them as a true soldier. As Clara stood over the fallen general, the atmosphere in the camp shifted dramatically. The soldiers, who had once whispered doubts about her abilities, now approached her with newfound respect and admiration. Some clapped her on the back, while others shouted her name, celebrating her bravery and skill. The cheers echoed through the camp, drowning out the remnants of shock from moments earlier. Clara felt a warmth spread through her as she took in their reactions. It was more than just victory. She had shattered the barriers that had held her back. Fellow soldiers came forward to shake her hand or offer encouraging words, expressing how impressed they were by her strength and determination. They no longer saw her as just another soldier. They recognized her as a true warrior who could stand toe-to-toe with anyone, regardless of rank. In that moment, Clara knew she had not only stood up for herself, but had also paved the way for others like her. She was now a symbol of courage and resilience within the unit, inspiring others to believe in their own strength and potential to overcome challenges. As she looked around at her comrades, Clara realized she was finally where she belonged. Clara's victory over the general sparked a significant conversation among the soldiers about women in the military and the stereotypes they often faced. Many began to reflect on how society perceives female soldiers as weaker or less capable, a notion that Clara had just shattered with her actions. Her bravery highlighted the reality that strength comes in many forms and is not defined by gender. As Clara spoke with her fellow soldiers, she noticed how inspired they felt, especially the women in the unit. They expressed gratitude for her courage, stating that her fight had shown them they could stand up for themselves too. This incident was more than just a personal triumph. It was a moment that could reshape attitudes and beliefs within the military community, encouraging more women to voice their strength and abilities. Clara realized she had not only defended her own dignity, but had also opened a door for future generations of female soldiers. By challenging the status quo, she became a beacon of hope and empowerment for those who had long been overlooked. The path forward would be different now, paved by her determination and resilience. Clara's journey serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of empowerment and standing up against injustice. By confronting the general and overcoming the challenges he posed, she not only reclaimed her dignity, but also inspired a profound change within her military unit. Her actions challenged deep-rooted stereotypes about women in combat, proving that bravery and strength are qualities that transcend gender. In the aftermath, as respect grew for Clara among her peers, it became evident that her fight was about more than personal victory. It symbolized a shift toward equality and recognition for all who serve. Clara's courage illuminated a path for future generations of female soldiers, encouraging them to embrace their potential and assert their place in a traditionally male-dominated arena. As the soldiers rallied around Clara, they united in a shared understanding that everyone deserves respect and acknowledgement for their abilities. This incident marked not just a victory in battle, but a powerful step toward breaking down barriers. The courage displayed by Clara ignited hope and inspiration within the hearts of those who witnessed her bravery, reminding us all that it is crucial to stand up for what is right and fight against injustice whenever we encounter it.